Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Go, is there a Bhagavad Gita?
In the library, it's not a source of
Open today. Bhagavad Gita is all these books.
That's a good sign. Really, been going on.
Okay, we have a bigger one coming here. This is Krishna, sir. Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 5, text number 25. Very nice verse in relation to Krishna says, Lavante Brahma Nirvana Rasik Samakavasa China Dvaita Chatmana Sarbhuta Hitevata. One who is beyond the duality of doubt, whose mind is engaged within, who is always busy, working for the welfare of all sentient beings, and who is free from all sins, achieves liberation in the Supreme. Purport. Only a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. When a person is actually in the knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts of humanity to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in first-class welfare work without being liberated in the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. He has no doubt because he is completely free from all sins. This is the state of divine love. I'll repeat that. He has no doubt because he is completely free from all sins. This is the state of divine love. Divine love. A person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties and the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle, and it's the tabernacle.
Then you work.
It's very difficult. Definition. Oh my God, Tamarandasya Gyanjana Slakaya Chakshur Lalitamdina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kutuvatalam Amnam Hete Green Yet Kipataraham Bande Shigarum Dinitara Vanchakapati Yasya Vipasan Paditan Bhavnyo Vaishleyo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita. This verse has become one of my favorite verses in the Bhagavad Gita. It's actually very deep. There's a China Dvaiti Tatmanaha, the one who is beyond the duality of doubts. So if we're faithful, then whatever happens, good. Okay. Sometimes we may be on Sankirtan and we're having a difficult time. Sometimes it happens. But if we have faith that Krishna is in control, then whatever happens is good. It's like if someone takes a book and gives a nice donation. That's fantastic, isn't it? But if someone says no, that's also fantastic. But we don't think that, right? Especially if you have a lot of no's. But actually, why? Can anybody say why?
Good for training.
Yes, on-the-job training. How to be humble, tolerant, and understanding Krishna's in control. See, we think we're in control. We're trying to control the situation. Yeah, I'm going to convince this guy to take a book. And we're trying to convince him. But Krishna's in control. So, yeah, book distribution is so nice because it's training how to be a humble servant, how to see Krishna in all circumstances. Prabhupada says in one purport, we should be servants of circumstances. I read that. Wow. In any circumstance we find ourselves in, we should serve Krishna in that way. So if we're getting a negative response, we serve Krishna. We try to please Krishna. How do we please Krishna? We get some negative response. By Chaitanya Prabhu, he has an exit mantra. If someone says no, doesn't take a book, he says, well, I want to thank you very much for your valuable time. It's been nice meeting you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. That's from getting a no. It's pretty good. And sometimes people are so impressed that they come back and they say, you know, you were so nice, you were such a gentleman. We changed our mind, we'll take a book. Give it to us. So 95% of our ability to distribute books is in our consciousness. If we have faith in Krishna, that Krishna is there, he is the controller. As it says here, he's the friend, he's the proprietor. Then everything's wonderful, you're at peace. So if you go out there and you have faith, even if you get no's, still you're happy because you're seeing Krishna's hand. And people reciprocate with people that are happy. And if you get disturbed, and then that's the face is the index to the mind. If you're disturbed, if you get upset because people are saying no, no, no. Then you're going to get a lot of no's because they see. So this all comes by sadhana. We have to hear, just like Vaiseshika. He is my hero. He has this program called Chad. Anybody know what Chad is? What's Chad?
Chapter a day.
Chapter a day. And actually, he got that in Prabhupada. Prabhupada would get letters from people that are having difficulty. And he would tell them, read a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita every day. Prabhupada would tell them. So Vaiseshika, he read that. It's a good book. So I've been doing it for about 12 years. Every day. It's fantastic. You go deep. Like, what is it? Prabhupada says in another book that you could read the Bhagavad Gita, you could read the Srimad Bhagavatam thousands of times, and each time you read it, you'll get new insight in the subject. It doesn't get old. Krishna was blessed that whatever you speak will be ever fresh. Who blessed him with that blessing? Anybody know? Besides nothing.
Was it somebody?
Sandeep is Guru. He blessed him. Of course, he doesn't need a blessing. But he accepts it.
It works.
It works. So, yeah, we have to hear nicely. We have to hear our rounds nicely. Bhakti Tirtha Swami, yeah, there's so many japa reform, japa workshops, and japa reform books. But the best thing I ever heard was the Bhakti Tirtha Swami. You ever heard him?
No. He was gracious.
He, when he would find himself chanting inattentive japa, he would stop. And you would back up 1 or 2 beats just to check the minds. And go forward. I've been doing that about 8 years. Great. I mentioned this to one devotee, and he said, Vijay, from just hearing that, I had my best rounds ever this morning. So, the mind has a tendency to go all over the place. And do you have that experience?
No. Wait.
Not that.
That's a expression.
So, Krishna says, Yato nishtalati, manashtantam asya, tatastato niyamyatat atmaneva. From wherever the mind wanders, let's bring it back under control of itself. Krishna doesn't say from wherever the mind may wander. No, it's going to wander. From wherever the mind wanders, due to its flickering, unsteady nature, one must bring it back under the control of itself. They have to bring it back. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said the mind is a non-devotee. It's a rascal. That's why it's so hard to hear them. That's why it's so difficult. So now our mind is in the Bhakti program. We're trying to turn this rascal, non-devotee mind into devotee. Big challenge. Krishna says in the Uddhava Gita, Durdhyana ahammana. Uddhava, like me. He says to Uddhava, of difficult things to conquer, I'm the mind. Not another kingdom. Difficult things to conquer, I'm the mind. So when Krishna says of difficult things to conquer on the mind, you know, check. So this is one little way to bring the mind back under control. When you find your try it out tomorrow. Find your chanting and your mind goes off. Back up and be a beautiful pose. I told this to one devotee. He said, if I did that, I'd be 10 all day long just to finish my 16 rounds. Don't take it too far. But this is the process. Rupa Goswami says, I do not know how much nectar there is in the word, name, Krishna. So when I chant the holy name of Krishna, I desire to have many millions of tongues to chant the holy name and millions of ears to hear the holy name. And when the holy name enters into the courtyard of my heart, it stops the activities of my mind and experience unlimited. So we're trying to get that taste. But if we're all over the place, how are we going to get the taste? We got to hear. We got to hear this holy name. Like I mentioned this morning, this is Krishna's doing surgery on our hearts. He's doing surgery, brain surgery on our mind. But we have to cooperate. We have to be attentive. That's like there's the 10 offenses, and this is one of the big ones. To be inattentive or chanting. And the other big one is to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions. So, Prabhupada mentions twice in this purport that people are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. People have forgotten who Krishna is, they've forgotten who they are. I was distributing books one time, and I approached this one person. I was at a table. So he came to the table. He was Muslim, and I was showing the book to him, and he was showing some interest. And I said, "Yeah, I think it's about helping us develop our love for God, remembering God all the time." He said, "But I can't take it." I said, "Well, what? I take that book home, my parents will kill me." Muslims. Okay. So I said, "Well, God is more important than your parents." I've never heard that. It's true. He said, "Yeah, right. It's true. What's more important than God?" But still, I can't take it. So, okay. So, next day, he comes to my table and says, "Oh, I'm so happy that you're here. You won't believe what happened last night. I'm sleeping, and I have a dream. And my parents are so cruel to me. They're mean, they're cruel. Why are they like this?" And then the Bhagavad Gita shows up glowing. Dream. Wow. Okay, they're not looking too good. So I said, "You see, That's God coming to you. He wants you to read this book. But still he was reluctant. So I told him, you see, your heart wants to take this book, but your mind is still giving it. And he thought, he said, you're right. What is my heart is saying? Take the book. Take the book. Give it. So this is all about trying to help people remember God. What are people mostly absorbed in? Sense gratification. But people are frustrated. What's the biggest disease now in the world? Stress. Depression. Yeah, stress, depression. People committing suicide. Yeah. Because they don't have their relationship with Krishna. So many people's lives were saved because getting drawn those books. Another time there was a devotee in Barbara, California. And he approached this one young man walking on his way. And he said, excuse me, where are you from? And the student said, I just fell on my bike, hit my head. I don't know anything, don't know my name, don't know anything. Still. And the devotee said, well, I'll tell you who you are. He told him, you're the eternal servant of Krishna. He's blank, so he said, well, at least now I know something. It's like Prabhupada, he was preaching so much in India, but so difficult because, why not Shiva? Why not, Brahma? Why not this guru? Why not this, this God? That's so difficult. Then he decided, all right, my guru told me to go to the west. I know, just go to the west. And there wasn't all these gods. And Prabhupada told him Krishna's God. Jagannath is God. So this devotee was very kind upon this student understand his very awkward situation. So he took him under his wing. And he took him to his apartment and he trained him. Krishna consciousness. Became a devotee. Became a book distributor. Became a good book distributor. Omkar. So he was completely of everything. But then he got to hear about Krishna. And so many people, the devotees, they grew up in different religions and they would ask their priest or rabbi or what happens in the kingdom of God? Can you tell us something about that? There's not much there. So then they get Prabhupada's books and they find out about Krishna. People are very forgetful. So our mission is to remind people about Krishna. This is what, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the only lack in society is Krishna consciousness. It's the only lack. Going back to Bhakti Swami. So he had this way of being more attentive in japa. So we kind of have to preach to our mind. I know you don't want to hear the holy name. You're non-devoted. But this is the new programs. If you're inattentive, if you don't hear attentive, we're going to chant more. Okay? And sometimes in our environment, but still it's stubborn. Mind is very stubborn. But we gotta train the mind to think of this. And then if we become pure, then the mind will be happy. So, yeah, it's so important that we hear the holy name attentively. And then we read Prabhupada's books again. Same thing, sometimes we might be reading, and you read a whole page, and nothing went in. Never happened, you read a whole page, and you're thinking of something else, there is the mind again. The mind like, this is boring, let's think of something else. Same thing, go back and read the page again. Read it again. You didn't hit it, read it again. When the Sankirtan leader told Prabhupada that he's going to teach the Sankirtan devotees different techniques distribution. And Prabhupada said that's not necessary. Just teach them how to be sincere. That's it. What does it mean to be sincere? It's serious. Teach them to be serious. We have this nice morning program. This is where we get our juice. It helps us live auspicious arti. We have our japas. And we have Guru Puja class. That association. Reading. Before you go out on book distribution, you should read. Because that gives inspiration. Be inspired to distribute the books by reading the books. We don't read the books. Like Prabhupada was talking with some Sankirtan devotees. And the devotees were saying how many books were being distributed. And Prabhupada was expressing his pleasure. But then he said, but are you reading the books? And the devotees said, well, Prabhupada, we're traveling and we're cooking and preaching, and it's so hard to find time to read the books. Then Prabhupada said, and what is the use? What is the use? Because he knows, he knew it. You don't read the books, you're not going to have strength. This is where we get strength. Reading these books. So it's so important. Can't be emphasized enough. A good sadhana. Krishna came to give us this knowledge. He came and he gave us this knowledge. Nice knowledge. Bhagavad Gita is so nice. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, so nice. But then Lord Chaitanya came and he taught us how to live. He would preach. He would go out and preach. Good preacher. He preached to Sarvam Bhattacharya, Prakasananda Saraswati, HG Vijay, and convinced all these people to become devotees. So if we hear nicely, then we can preach nicely. Like Prabhupada, he would hear his spiritual master, but it's very difficult to understand. It's his vocabulary, very high level. It's been gallons. But he liked to hear. And there was one instance where there was a parikram going on. There was some yatra there in Vrindavan. And there was a choice. You can go to some holy place, so you can stay in here. But it's a few stayed here. And Prabhupada sat there and heard speak. And then later, there were devotees just that he get initiated. And when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur heard that he wanted initiated, he said, yes, he doesn't go away. And he said, but Prabhupada said, because I heard nicely, Therefore, I can speak nicely. From hearing comes understanding. We understand why it's so important to distribute books by hearing this divine message. And what does Krishna say? Yaidam paramam mad bhakte subhasasi bhakti mayam param mama. That anyone who is teaching this message, this great secret, Bhagavad Gita, is very dear to me. And there'll never be anyone more dear to me. So Krishna has given us, this is an open secret on how to please. An open secret. But what's interesting is just a few verses before that, he says this knowledge should not be preached to those who are envious of me, who are not austere, who are not devoted, and who are not engaged in devotional service. So one might say, well, wait a second, all the people that we go out to, they're not austere, they're not devoted. Not engaged in devotional service. Why are we pursuing both? The answer is given in purport to 329. Would you like to hear it? Here, Prabhupada says, men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, Lord Krishna advises us not to disturb them and simply waste valuable time. But the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they understand the purpose of the Lord. Consequently, they undertake all kinds of risk, even to the point of approaching ignorant men to try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. So in this purport, Prabhupada explains why Krishna didn't want us to approach such non-devotees, because he didn't want to waste our time. This is the kind of interest. Some people out there, they're just not interested. So Krishna doesn't want it. Don't waste your time. But Prabhupada said, but the devotees are even more kind because they'll even approach people that are uninterested, not interested. This is the kindness. We're here because of the kindness of devotees. Devotees all over the world, thousands and thousands, because of the kindness of devotees. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, and so many devotees. Now we have devotees that have been distributing books for 50 years. And Prabhupada wanted that we give our life. And sometimes people ask me, after I give them a book, how much should I give? I say, well, I gave my life. If you can give your life, no one's done it yet. Actually, a few people I've given books. Just about a year and a half ago, I was distributing books at Balboa Park, and he was interested, but he didn't have any money. I said, that's all right. You keep it. I'll be here tomorrow. You bring something to me. He said, all right. So he came there and gave him nice things. So he got his contact, invited him to the temple. And then he went through some traumatic experience. So he asked the But in Ryan Swami, he could come and move into the temple. And he was already chanting japa. Then yeah. So now we have 3 book distributors in San Diego. He's one of them. He got initiated recently. So it happens. People get these books and become devoted. How many of you came because you received the book? So it happens. That's good. You never know. We never know who's going to take the book and who isn't going to take it. We never know who's going to become a devotee, who isn't there. Like there was one person in Los Angeles, he was very envious of the devotees, and he used to break the windows. Yeah. So one day he came by and he broke a window, and one of the devotees said, "All right, I've had enough. It's enough of this tolerance." He went out and he chased the guy down. He beat him up. And this person that was so envious, he was impressed. He thought the devotees were kind of sissies, you know, passive. These guys are tough. He got a book, he found a book somewhere, he reads. You guys got a good philosophy too. he was so impressed. Then one Sunday he came and he wanted to participate in Sunday. And they saw him and said, "No, you can't come." And he said, "Believe it or not, I've been reading these books. And I was so impressed with that guy that beat me up." And believe it or not, I'm showing some interest in what you guys are offering. And they were surprised. He started visiting the temple every Sunday. And he started chanting japa. And the devotees were amazed. This person's actually becoming a devotee. So finally, after some time, they let him move in. He became one of the biggest distributors in the world. Book distributor. He became a big book distributor. So you never know. Prabhupada said our mission is to turn crows into swans. It's like many of us, we were out there doing all nonsense, we were crows. Now some swan feathers are growing. There might be a couple crow feathers left still. Swan feathers are growing. And as we continue, eventually, as the Prabhupada says, that by the chanting of Hare Krishna, we get shot in the spiritual world. And he said the living entity is like the arrow, and their holy name is like the bow. And by chanting Hare Krishna, we get shot back to the spiritual world. Don't fly as a swan bird. We get shot back to the spiritual world. So this is the power of the holy name. This is how we're going to go back home. We've got to hear the holy name. We've got to hear Prabhupada goes. And eventually we're going to get heard. I mean, I've seen so many amazing examples. There was one person in Los Angeles. I mean, this person was so spaced out. I mean, just like so spaced out. You just wouldn't believe it. I don't really believe about how spaced out. Really spaced out. If this person becomes a devotee, it'll be a miracle. My faith will increase like anything. He became a good devotee. He became a Pujari in Vrindavan temple. Huh? In Vrindavan. Yeah. He became a nice devotee. He's like, the process works. Well, he's been around now 15 years. Now he's doing mostly Harinam. But yeah, this process works. Anybody can become a devotee. So yeah, we should dedicate as much of our life as we can. And this will be very good for you and good for those people who are receiving this books. Actually, it's the best thing that'll ever happen to them. Because these books, these are guidelines for people's lives, guidebooks for life, how to live one's life. People don't know. They're going to school, and what are they learning? Math, business, geometry, geography. Nothing about life. I remember I was in school. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. What do you? When I read the Bhagavad Gita, I was like, now here's something worth learning. I read it like 7 days. I couldn't put it down. Wow. I couldn't put it down 7 days. So, yeah, it's a powerful message. Transforms people's lives. It's a very positive way. So we should have this faith in this knowledge. And the faith increases as we continue on. In Krishna consciousness. Maybe we'll stop there. Is any questions? Yeah.
In the beginning, we spoke about chanting. Can you share some relations about early morning chanting? There's some more auspicious times to chant.
Believe it or not, Prabhupada said the best time to chant Japa is before Mangalarti. He said, if you chant your 16 rounds and Gayatri before Mangalarti. Very good. He told that to Jamuna. Then you read that book by Jamuna. Great book. Great book. I'll just give you one little. That's one of the things in the book. It's very interesting. Actually, after I read that, but before I read that, I was already waking up at 2:30, chanting most of my job before. But I thought, well, if I just wake up at 2 o'clock, I can chant all my job before my life. So I've been doing that for, I don't know, 15 years. It's fantastic. And after Mangalarti, then you can read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Then by the time you get out of book distribution, you're ready to go. You're ready to go. So another thing in that book, which is very interesting, I read, there's her husband is a Guru Das, and he was filming them walking, and they were walking. She was walking next to Prabhupada, and then she thought, well, let me walk behind Prabhupada, just follow in his footsteps. So she's walking behind Prabhupada. Then she looks down, and there's no footprint. Now, it was in the morning, so there's some, morning dew, a little water on the grass, morning dew. And then she looked behind her and, well, I don't even know footprint. Prabhupada's not leaving a footprint. She said, Prabhupada, you're not leaving a footprint behind you. Prabhupada turned around and said, you'll understand in the future. And then he kept floating. And the same thing happened with the devotee in Australia. He was walking with Prabhupada and the other devotees. He was walking behind Prabhupada. And the same thing, there's morning dew on the ground in that park. And Prabhupada's just floating. And he's also looks behind, he's leaving the footprint. You gotta read this book. I mean, Yamuna, Prabhupada said to her, or said about her, that she's on the level of Bob. He never said that about anybody else. No male, no female, but her. She was on the level of Bob. Very good. You have that book? Yeah, it's a fantastic book. So,
This early morning chanting.
early morning, yeah, early. So early morning, this is we're early risers in America. There's a person called Benjamin Franklin, who said, early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy. Have you know that saying? So early rise is good. Of course, you got to take rest. It's not for a lot of people. It's not. It'd be difficult to do that, to get up that early. But if you can, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic way to start your day. So, anything else?
We can see when you see this words on the time, newsletter, this course, you have some insight. This the ability to distribute a lot of books depends on what?
95% that are conscious. Impossible. What did Prabhupada say? Impossible is the words of the whole. So, yeah, we have to just try our best. Krishna, try our best, and Krishna will do the rest. Try our best, Krishna will do the rest. Yeah.
Also, so you also visited this Krishna life.
Yeah.
There are some share what they are doing.
Yeah, they're fired up. They do these Saptarishis, and they do full sets. You want Bhagavatam full sets. So yeah, this is unprecedented. Maybe I could do one too. So I take a full set out of book distribution in the park. And for a few days, no one would take one. But then I was sitting at the table, and one person came out to the table. He said, "Oh, the Bhagavad Gita." I said, "Yeah, nice book. You have it?" He said, "Yeah." Well, then you're ready for the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the postgraduate study of Bhagavad Gita. Here it is, 18 volumes. And I started telling him more about it. He said, "All right." I said, "It's $300. He said, "All right." So he bought it, but he lived in Arizona, which is maybe 400 miles away. And they couldn't bring their car in because they're having a festival in the park. So I said, "Don't worry, I'll send it to you." He said, "All right." I told this to a Russian friend. He said, "In Russia, pretty good. They're going to keep the books and the money." But I sent it to him, and he was very happy. He sent me a picture of the books that he got. And then maybe a few months later, we went and we visited in Arizona. But now he's reading. We brought some jot beads for him also. Standing. So, yeah, unprecedented sending or distributing full Srimad Bhagavatam sets to people that don't know anything about Krishna. It's pretty amazing. So, yeah, sky is the limit. We try our best. Bring out a Srimad Bhagavatam set. It's like just thinking about it, like inconceivable, right? Bring out a whole Srimad Bhagavatam. How much will it cost you? Oh, Srimad Bhagavatam.
We have English.
Yeah, English. How much?
200 euros.
200 euros.
No, European.
That's what it cost you?
Oh, that's
Okay.
So tomorrow we can try just with cents. Tomorrow we can go out just with cents.
Yeah, bring set. Everybody bring a set.
One person says.
Yeah, we're gonna go out tomorrow. What is it? What time? From 2:30 to 4:30 or something. And what happens after that? Oh yeah.
Yeah, how they distribute sets? They probably have some there on one point
On
or
display. They have on display. They're showing them, and they explain. These are encyclopedias of India, 5,000 years old. And it explains about karma and yoga and many amazing stories. You could show them, there's amazing pictures in it. It's quite attractive. So, yeah,
They don't go with sex to the streets.
they're not walking around with this.
Yeah.
Like to read. They have they usually go to stores, like a lot of the Indian stores, they have them on a table. They show them on the table. I had mine on the table. So to do, as I said, you have to be in a place where you can have it on a table. You can show it to people. So the people that have some spiritual interest, yeah, I don't know, whoever's most enthusiastic, give it a try. It's possible. It's happening. It's happening. So many devotees in America now, they're selling full sets to students. It's happening around the country now. Amazing. I'm sure Prabhupada is very pleased. Yeah, just like there's some debate about who was the first book distributor, big book distributors in America. And some were saying San Francisco, and some were saying Vancouver. And some were saying Montreal. But clearly, Prabhupada. Does anybody know how many books Prabhupada went to America with?
600.
That's right, 600. 200 sets. The first canto, 3 volumes. So he would put them on consignment. He would put them in stores, and he would go and check if any had been sold, and if any were sold, he would get the money, and he would put more. So that's how he was. That was the first book distribution, and that helped. Now he was maintained. So Prabhupada started it. And then he started, writing so much. And then the books were being printed. It was a Krishna book. Being printed and what else? I guess that was the first big book. So they're getting cases. People are getting cases, but they don't know what to do with them. No one knew how to distribute books. And then devotees were at one gas station, and they asked the gas attendant if he could take a book instead of cash. Yeah, it's interesting. So that started. And then it started going door to door. And if any temple did 5 books, or somebody, one person did 5 books, that was the world record. 5 books, that was a world record. And then they started distributing more and more. So, yeah. Well, I think somebody else had a question. You.
Like now we're talking about these pets giving out, and also it is many times emphasized to give out big books, not small ones. Then I wonder, like, people have problems understanding small ones. So by giving out big books, I understand, like, they have even more problems to start with than if they start with small books. So I don't know what do you think about that.
Well, I travel all over the world, and my common question to devotees that pick me up, I ask, well, how did you join? And it's amazing, like, I don't know, 75%. They joined because of reading the Bhagavad Gita. That's how I joined. Bhagavad Gita, you too. You too. How many of you joined because of the Bhagavad Gita? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many joined because you got another big book? Yeah. So how many joined because you read a small book? So Prabhupada said, book distribution means big book. Because people keep big books, keep them in their bookshelf. And there's sometimes people they'll say, people give different excuses sometimes. And sometimes they say, well, I don't have any time. So I tell them, I'm going to tell you something about books that you've never heard before. Books are patience. Books are patient. They'll sit and wait for years. They're very patient. So sometimes they say, okay, all right, that's right. Books are patient. That's another way for me. All right, I'll take it. There was one person who he had gotten a Bhagavad Gita and he put it in his bookshelf there. And it was sitting there for years. And he went through some traumatic experience in his family life. His wife started treating him really bad, shouting at him, foul language, and then his children also started treating him that way. He just became shocked at what is this? So it was so disturbing, he started drinking. Drinking, became an alcoholic. So his life just became miserable. And so he was thinking that I can't live like this. Family is like this, now I'm an alcoholic. He decided to take his life. So he's sitting there with the poison in front of him. And he just happened to look up and he saw the Bhagavad Gita in the bookshelf. So he thought, nothing to lose now, maybe there's something there. So he brought it down and he said to this devotee, he said, just reading the first paragraph, I felt so much relief. So he kept reading. And he said, by the time I finished reading the book, I'm so happy. So happy. And then he explained to his wife about it. It was also interesting. And then the whole family became the book. And the book was sitting there for years. So, yeah.
It's a comment. We have one book in Croatia. It describes the 80s and 90s in the past Yugoslavia, past country. And there's one story that one Bhagavad Gita made 80 people, one copy of Bhagavad Gita turned 8 people into copy of it. They became devotees. One person got to give to his mother, daughter, wife. The wife gave it to her husband, parents, and co-workers. One copy that circulated.
Also in Russia, so many people became devotees from just a few books going on. They had to copy them. Russia is heavily clouded. Yeah.
Good question. One maybe is the number of books distributed an indicator of like sometimes you see these devotees or aspiring devotees, and it's clear they don't really have so much sadhana. They don't read the books, and they distribute. Sometimes they distribute like crazy amount of books. So then you wonder. I mean, like, I have my sadhana, I have this, and I'm not distributing it. How can you explain this?
But that's not sustainable. If one doesn't have good sadhana, one may have some energy to distribute books. He's got some ability to distribute. But if you don't have good sadhana, it's not sustainable. You won't be able to continue. because this is what keeps us alive. Hearing, yeah. Otherwise, you dry up. Just like in the Bhagavatam, there's an example of a village, two villages, and there's a path in between these villages, and there's family. There's a family connection there, so they're going back and forth. There's a beaten path, but then all it comes to one village. So the path isn't being used anymore. So it gets covered by weeds. So this hearing and chanting that we're doing, this is the path that we have back to Krishna. And if we don't hear and chant regularly, that path gets covered over by so many unwanted things, so many anarthas. It gets covered over inevitably. If we don't regularly hear and chant, that path is going to get covered. So we want to keep that path clear. It's called a beaten path. A clear path, thank you, Krishna. That path stays clear. It gets clearer and clearer as we continue on in devotional service. And eventually, we go on that path, back to home, back together.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I would like to ask a question. This Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam are Kirtan, isn't it?
Yeah,
Our acharyas, they emphasize Kirtan as the most powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Perform some Kirtan. So my question is that we sometimes hear this idea from devotees that there is some Kirtan devotees, and then that idea that there is some other devotee. So my question is, who is a Sankirtan devotee and who can perform Kirtan?
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he called book distribution the Brihat Mridanga. And by the way, my book just got printed. We call it Treasures of the Brihat Mridanga. So hopefully it'll be there soon. Dhamma Mahurti said he's going to order some, so it'll be distributed around Europe. But yeah, you go on Harinam, that's Kirtan. You go on book distribution, that's Kirtan. But Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they emphasize more the book distribution. Because when you go on Kirtan, when you go on Harinam, chanting, it's nice, people get to hear the holy name, but they don't know why. What's this about? Therefore, sometimes people come and they ask, what's this about? What are you singing? Right? And then sometimes. But when you give them a book, the holy name is there. They're hearing the holy names. They're reading the holy name. And it explains why the meditation is there. Why we chant. It's like I was chanting a mantra before I joined the Hare Krishna movement. But it wasn't doing it. But when I read the Hare Krishna mantra in the Bhagavad Gita, then I stopped chanting the other mantra and I chanted Hare Krishna. Because it's so powerful. And it gives reason why chant. And the philosophy behind chanting. So therefore the book distribution is the best kirtan.
Who can perform?
Whoever wants to. If you want to, you can do it. Man proposes, God, we want. Everything is going by desire. If you want, you could do kirtan. You can do Harinam, or you can do book distribution. Or you can do both. That's also nice. I remember we were having a big Harinam in Germany, about 100 devotees. Houston now. Really nice by now. There was a couple of ladies came in there. They were because the devotee had a sign there, Hare Krishnas. They were dancing and chanting. They liked it too. And then I thought, well, these girls are pretty fired up. So one night, and I offered a book to them. And they said, well, this explains everything. I said, yeah. Okay. They gave a donation, and we were talking about it. And then the Harinam went on, and the girls saw the Harinam going, and they said, hey, wait for us. Yeah. With a book that explains what we're doing. So to have both is really good. And you guys have, when you have Harinam, there's also book distributors sometimes. That's good. Yeah. Yes.
Just a comment, actually. Like I see, and I read the stories of devotees in America that how they're actually distributing books. They're doing the sets, and like you mentioned that they have a table set up, and also it's not possible that we can go with such a big set and be on the street, you know. So just like when we were doing the books in this marathon, we were just usually I did like the small books more. I mean, I wanted to do big like the sets, but it's not very convenient to carry all these sets, you know. So so I'm just saying, just a comment that for us, we are not maybe doing the table in the center or in the university, but we usually just go on the street and
You're walking around.
yeah, and we made these sets. Like one Krishna book and was that Krishna book, Bhagavad Gita, and like 2-3 small books.
They call those bhakti sets. 3 or 4 books, yeah, called bhakti.
Yeah, that's how this time we did it this way.
Yeah, good. Very good. Yes.
Moreover, and I didn't read yet. But this person bought this book, I don't know, 5 years ago. But if they people like that they take another book.
Well, they already have a book and they haven't read it yet. Tell them, well, you might read this one. In a light way, you know, just because they already have one, just lightly say, well, you might read this one here. And if they don't take it, well, try to encourage them to read the one that they already have. Then they might read that one. And you know. Yeah.
This is an objection in Croatia because recently we've been adding more emphasis on book distribution because it's something devotees commentaries, and then the congregation will be scared that we're kind of ditch everything else and devote ourselves to book distribution. And their objection was that a lot of books were distributed over the past and people aren't reading them.
How do they?
Well, that was good. That's what they perceive.
We don't know.
And one is some creature said that if people aren't reading the books, then do Harinam. Like spread the awareness that Hare Krishna is a thing, better things. So if we have any comments on that.
Both are good. Harinam is great. Actually, the movement started first with Harinam. They would go out for 12 hours. Fired up.
Last year we did 150
150
Harinams.
Harinam. And you have a good amount of devotees going out too.
I mean, depends what. But
Yes.
it was,
Very good.
and book distribution doubled.
Book distribution double.
Yeah, our experience was that with Harinam you can increase book distribution a lot,
Oh, good.
especially in the smaller cities where if you have 2 or 3 distributors, it's more than enough.
Right.
With Harinam, so it's not, if you put Harinam, sometimes it's not even decreasing book distribution.
Okay. So Harinam can increase. Awesome. But he had his hand.
So like you are doing good distribution for so many years and also preaching as well. So can you maybe explain why Prabhupada said that like in book distribution, it's more important than preaching? He said that it's, as I understand, the most direct and the best preaching.
Well, Prabhupada is the best preacher. So by giving people Prabhupada's books, you know, it's going into their home, so they can read it at their leisure. If they have time. But in preaching, you know, I mean, there's not that many. Of course, in India, they're making a lot of devotees by the preach. They go to universities and they do a lot of preaching. Whereas in the West, people don't. It's not our culture. So it may be a little more difficult to convince people through our preaching. And also, there's not that many devotees that are so expert at preaching, you know, to go around and preach and convince people. But now actually we're in Russia, it's unbelievable. They're making so many devotees online. This Adarya Dham, he's making thousands of devotees. He's a doctor.
So it's coming now.
He's coming here.
Yeah.
He makes thousands of devotees. He goes in, he's a doctor, so he goes in with health. But then he goes in, he brings Krishna. And he makes, he probably makes more devotees than any devotee on the planet. Preaching. So that's also there. There's some people, devotees that are very expert. Chaitanya Chandracharan also. He's Guru, and thousands of disciples. Also, he's preaching online and writing books. He has a number of books. So there's some devotees that are expert at preaching that can make devotees in that way. Yeah,
because especially it seems so contradictory. Like you go out selling apples, and people come buy apples. And maybe peers, and then they become devotees. You understand what they want? Like if you sell Ayurveda, it's like selling apples. Like people go there to get information about health. So they don't go there for the reason of the sake of getting spiritual information. So how they ever then from that indirect preaching, because Prabhupada always emphasized direct preaching, and they're doing contrary.
He does do that also in between the lines.
Yeah, he's an expert preacher. It's fantastic. Like Prabhupada said that if you can preach through yoga, that's good. A lot of people are attracted to yoga, but they go in there for yoga, but then they get bhakti yoga. Prabhupada said that's good. No problem. They don't go in there for God. They go in there for physical, enhancement, but they get Krishna, spiritual enhancement. That's okay. Yes.
I wanted to ask, I'm not living in a temple, and I set all the technical benchmarks to myself very low. I don't distribute big books. I've never distributed a big book, but people ask me, but I don't have them. Then I actually did distribute them indirectly later on, because if I would have put these benchmarks higher, it would take away my ability to distribute. That's my personal approach. So I always have small books with me. I don't care whether I get money, whatever. I have bring this mantra, do one book, and that's it. And whenever I go, I try to give books, and I don't care whether I get money or no. I just want to give books. So is something wrong with that approach?
Well, you can tell them a little bit. You can tell them it's a book on meditation, on yoga, higher consciousness.
Of course.
Well, that's
so
that's something. That's okay. That's all right. Yeah, good. Yes.
I wanted to ask, say we do book distribution and we give out like a bookmark, and I just quickly write on it, we have class on Sunday 5 till 8, and I'll give out so many bookmarks of the books, but then no one comes. good program, but how can I change that to
Well, you can't be too attached. Don't be too attached. Prabhupada said there's two things that go very deep in the heart. Attachment to the results, sex desire. So don't be attached. This is one of the things that kind of makes it difficult to continue book distribution. That we get too attached to the results. This is called an anxiety. So we should go out there with a desire to please Krishna. If we go out there with a desire to please Krishna, then we won't be attached to the result. It's not easy to be free of the attachment to the result. But you want to do something nice for Krishna. But if we have nice consciousness, this is what is most pleasing. If we have this nice consciousness, then the result will come. Krishna consciousness, like Prabhupada. He didn't have a result practically for a year in New York City. Imagine you distributing books and you don't have a result for a year. That's pretty tough. So he was trying to convince people to take up Krishna consciousness. No one was coming. But he continued. He said, we want a certificate from Krishna saying that this person has done something good for me. So if we distribute books, we're doing something good. Krishna's pleased. Very auspicious.
Just one last question. When I was on this book distribution, so I took a lot of contacts of people, and many of them were very much interested, and they said that they will come, for the. I don't say that, okay, you're welcome to the temple or something. I usually say that we have chanting class or the mantra. Many of people that I met were actually very interested and seemed kind of genuine, that they're really genuinely interested in this whole philosophy and program. And that time they seemed very confident that they would come, and I took their contacts like on Instagram or something like that. And then when I tried to contact them, and they just said, okay, we will see the next week. But I was writing them, but then you can see if they are interested or not. They didn't want to come after that, but I can't keep writing them and they don't respond. It's not like nice to chase them either, So I stopped. But I'm just saying that there was one girl who came to the program, and she came in the evening. She sat for the class. She had prasadam. She was singing in the kirtan, but she had to leave Slovenia that day. It was her last day in Slovenia. She was from Italy, but she came. But other people that I met did not really come, and some of them did not reply. So I write them again, So I was thinking that it's nice. Of course, we go on book distribution, but also it's nice to follow up with them, and because ultimately we would, it would be nice to have them become devotees and follow the process. That's what the whole motive of our book distribution is. Just like we came. So I was just thinking, how do we, go with this?
I heard an interesting story recently that there was a person doing like inviting them to the temple, and the person never came, but kept inviting for 10 years. Kept inviting for 10 years. And finally the person said, let me go check that. And became a devotee. Pretty amazing.
So remarketing. Just constantly giving him impulse. Remember me, remember, and then after a while, like, okay, I remember you.
Called remarketing.
Remarketing. Like if you saw something on Facebook, they can pay an ad. Everyone who was watching my ad for the last 6 months, like again, put my ad into that. And then like 10 times you see his ad, like, okay, how much is it? Checking. Yeah.
So they get remarketing. Keep going. in a nice way. In a nice way. And you never know.
So I suggest that we end, okay, so because
Yeah.
she is getting close.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Much
you.
for this. Latin words and therapy.
Thank you.
Continue. Wow.
Hare Krishna.
But Dilamba,
Huh?
tomorrow Dilamba.
Yes. Yuda Gurmahare Nam Sankirtan Meeting.